So I'm really excited about these guys. I played a little bit of the original Aeronautical Imperialis, and the planes are really small. That was okay. And then I saw the new one coming out, and I wasn't that impressed. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then a friend showed me the planes, and holy crap, they're amazing. So I pilfered half of the starter box here, and I've got the Imperial guys. So I've got the Thunderbolts and the Marauders, and oh man, I'm so excited. So you get all this crap that comes with it. There's the special edition, so you get the special cool cards. I have no idea what they do, but I'm going to be flying planes, so that'll be pretty awesome. Gives me expert gunnery, lightning reactions, and I'll become a master navigator, which looks pretty cool. And these 3-pointers, well, it looks important. Like 3 points, that's pretty epic. I'm sure they'll reveal themselves as time goes on. Also, we get these really cool little bases in here, which I haven't even cut open yet. So we'll look at the bases. We've got some cool transfers, or as we like to say in the old Canada here, we like to say decals. I like the fact that you got dark and light, and what my plan is to do, obviously, is if we have different loadouts, I'll load them up with the different colored wings and all that. Very, very cool. I like the little bands for the hazard stripes and all that. The kill markers and all that. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I really like this. Really neat. And of course, these can make their way into other projects as well, which is awesome. What else do we got? More stands, and they've got the ball jointed stands, which I saw on some of the assembled ones. I thought that was pretty cool. So you can actually see here that you got the balls that sit on top. So when your jet snug fits onto that, you can do it in different, kind of sweeping actions or poses or what have you. And it makes it a lot easier to transport them. That way your bases don't snap on you. So pretty darn cool. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with these or if I'm going to use like a brass rod or something, but these ones are pretty sweet to see that way. Those are those. What else have we got? And then we've got, of course, the sprues. Now, we've got our Marauder sprue here. We've got our Thunderbolt sprue here as well. I think the Thunderbolt sprue is pretty self-contained here. And it looks pretty nice, actually. And then let's take a look at each one. So, and then I think that small sprue goes in with the Marauder. So with the Thunderbolt sprue, what I think is pretty neat about this is you get actually all the different loadouts. And you can either make an autocannon version, and they look like little tiny autocannons, which is absolutely amazing. And they've got the Gatling guns. I don't know, that's like a Punisher type variant on it as well. You got bombs, you've got all the little jets. One of the things that I noticed that I thought was pretty cool is the engines look a bit like the Valkyrie engines, which I thought was kind of neat as well. And because I'm going to be painting these guys up to match our kind of the Imperial Navy, assault teams that I put together, just so I can have like a combined narrative, I think they look really cool in those kind of rich colors there. They've got the the engines on there, but the detail is actually pretty darn solid. But again, we started seeing this with the Adeptus Mechanicus stuff, with the Titanicus stuff, sorry, not the Mechanicus. With the Titanicus stuff, we saw lots of detail, and they came up with some pretty intricate kits, with that high resolution kind of plastic design there. Really cool. So the Thunderbolts, you get 2 on the sprue, and I'm so looking forward to playing with these guys. Wicked! The Bomber, if we take a look at the Marauder, we've got 2 sprues here. The first sprue is basically just kind of the big bulk, spinning it, it's just kind of the basic big bulk of the bombers themselves. You can see that you've got the wingspan, so they got the double engines, which are all here. And again, very similar to the Valkyrie kind of layout. So it actually looks like they've taken loads of inspiration, not just from the Forge World stuff, but the ability to kind of have, these things that all look, kind of unified with the rest of the army. There's like the big ball turrets and all that. And I mean, the big World War II vibes coming off of these things. So yeah, really stoked about seeing these guys in action. Now, as far as the loadouts are concerned, on the bombers, they all come with this extra sprue here. And you can see that you've got kind of these ball turret, like heavy bolter, but look, it's so tiny, like that's the size of my thumb, and you can see that the heavy bolter is just, but you can see the heavy bolter. My plan was to just kind of do, whatever, and then come back to it, but I don't know. I like if I just do whatever loadout and then I just say that this plane's got this, but I might be getting more of these sets. I mean, they're pretty darn awesome. And really high kind of fidelity on the actual sprues themselves. It looks just like a miniature version of all the different pieces in there. I like the buzz bombs with the big tail fins at the back for the bombers. That's so cool. And seeing a bomber set up with the flight of these bombs is going to be awesome. Now, I know there's a couple variants that you can do, and I think I'm going to be doing like a bomber version and a fighter version of each the Thunderbolt and the Marauder, and then just have them kind of puttering around the board. My plan is not to just do straight up aerial combat. I think for me, I want to do a lot of kind of, cool scenarios and bombing missions, and maybe tie that in with some streaming of, some other games of like the Navy guys touching down or something like that. Really cool. I think, narratively, it'll be fun to have a whole bunch of different abilities to kind of show different stories. So look at the las cannons. Those are awesome. Oh, man, these look so sweet. So I mean, that's it pretty straight up for the sprues, but loads of detail. And I mean, what's nice is I think they give you all the options in there as well. Now, we've got 4 of these bases here, but let's just take a second and take a look. So I'm going to have to take this guy apart, I think, at some point in time, so I can paint it. Hopefully it snaps apart without breaking it. But, it's a hobby. I've got glue. I'm good to go. And I like the fact that you've got airspeed and height. Played a lot of a game called Modern Naval Battles, and it was like a little book-driven game where you would kind of, do maneuvers, and you choose maneuvers, and you'd fight each other. And it sounds a little strange, but it was a great little game, and it was 2 of these pocket kind of notebook-sized things that you take around. And man, do I love the idea of kind of aerial combat and tactics and all of that. So knowing nothing about the game, having seen only a couple of the way things move, and just a few items on kind of rules. I think it's going to be really cool and a lot of fun. So I intend to paint these guys up as well. And yeah, I think it looks pretty solid. Maybe do like a little bit of a navigation-y type thing. Do like a radar sweepy type thing with different colors. Maybe use some contrast paints to make that a thing. So yeah, that's it for kind of the quick look in the box. What I'll do now is I'll assemble them all up, and I'll give you guys some feedback on how they went together, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I've got them all built up now, and oh man, I love the design of these models. Playing the other Aeronautica Imperialis, they were quite a bit smaller. I got to see, a friend of mine actually showed me his, and, it was okay. It was kind of neat. I loved, kind of air combat games for a long time. So we thought, Jay, you're going to really like this. I looked at it, and it was, it was okay, it looked all right. And then I saw the size of the models and the detail in the models, and that kind of really got me involved in really digging the way this kind of looks. So we've got the 2 bombers here. You'll see with all the ball turrets on the bombers, you can actually get all these different angles, which is kind of neat. You don't get that so much on the fighters, but you got different loadouts for all of them. So I'll break those down. The other thing, again, before we kind of really get into the models, is I want to look at the bases. And so the bases that we have are, let's fly that across the room here. The bases that we have are actually pretty cool. Obviously, we've got our speed and altitude parts of the game, which are kind of neat mechanics there. And I mean, I like the fact that they're heavy. They've actually got some weight associated with them. I tried to take them apart because I wanted to paint them, and they didn't seem too happy with trying to be taken apart. So I'm going to leave that, and I'll just maybe do some hand priming and paint these up. But what I really like about these is these little ball kind of tops to the stems here, and you can actually put your planes right on, and they snap in, which is great. But you can do some kind of creative posing. You got loads, and it just stays there. It's a very kind of firm join without having to worry about anything breaking off. So you get all these different pitches and angles that you can do. Really nice. Also great to be able to transport them. It almost feels like it's on a magnet. It's that snug of a fit. So looking at the big, huge bombers here, I'm really liking the way the Marauders are, kind of set out. I love that World War II kind of multi-engine format, big, chunky, blocky planes. Again, those tail gunners and nose gunners that you see all the way throughout just add just a little bit of extra personality. You can picture a little guy in there, just kind of scanning the skies for enemy fighters. The underslung engines, you know, being really close, you know, kind of the different proportions are really nice. They're following that wing line in there. And I love the way that they've echoed in all the features that you essentially see on the Valkyrie wings with the rivets and these little kind of, you know, pieces in here. I love the fact that they've carried those through. The engines are right off of a Valkyrie, basically. I mean, not right off of Valkyrie, but I love that, just little bits of detail in there that you see all the way through. The kits were very easy to put together in terms of the bombers, and the fighters were too. There's just a few little fiddly bits kind of around the engines. I like that they've modeled in the bomb bay doors. I was looking at different loadouts when I was trying to figure out what loadout to give it. And they're like, oh yeah, and they got the bomb bay doors. I'm like, what? And I turned over and I spun it and I can see it right here. You can even see they got that bomber camera down at the bottom. I mean, just all the little details. But what they've really done, and this is the exact same that they've done with the Titanicus stuff, is they've added loads of detail, but it's not too muddy. Like when you look at it, I mean, you're going to be painting detail, but you'll be painting it with washes, and your eyes will pick up on all of it. They were super easy to put together, and yeah, loads of fun. You've got multiple loadouts, obviously, you can put in. On the big bombers, you've got, you know, 4 racks on each side. So I decided to go with a little bit of air-to-air, kind of, you know, dual-purpose air-to-air, air-to-ground, and the Hellstrike missiles, and then, of course, they got the bombs in there. And I decided to do that for both of my bombers. That way they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't be falling asleep during an air fight, but they could still, you know, be effective in bombing runs. So look at those. They're just awesome, like just fantastic models. Moving on to the fighters, I'll get these out of frame a little bit here. Moving on to the fighters, I really thought the Thunderbolts were pretty cool. Again, they're quite big, so they're not the same scale necessarily, but visually they're, you know, a little bit smaller. But I think, well, maybe it's a 2-person Thunderbolt. I'm not really sure, but you know, it doesn't really matter. I mean, these guys are kind of symbolizing what's on the board anyway. So, loving the details that are going to be in here, and again, very nice details all the way throughout. They're echoing the Valkyrie wings, which is pretty sweet. They've got the little you know, rivets and the little, you know, seam points and all that, which is great. I love the fact that you can actually see the engines. Gives it that little bit of a kind of a hot rod, you know, kind of a kind of that Spitfire Thunderbolt look. If you Google up a picture of the Thunderbolt itself, there's some really cool, you know, kind of heavy fighter feelings that you get from it. You know, and you can see how they're kind of connected to each other. But man, just awesome features. You got different loadouts. You can see here they got the autocannon build at the front, and I decided to do the Punishers with the Gatling cannons up front, which is great. Because these guys are focused on fighting in the air, as the being fighters and all, I went with the air-to-air missile and that kind of dual-purpose air-to-ground kind of heavy-hitting missile system that's on there. Looking at the individual planes themselves, they've got everything modeled in. They've got the gear modeled in. They've got all the little kind of, you know, flaps on the ailerons and all that, so they can lift up the plane and move it around. You know, a little bit of light beacons on the wingtips. I mean, they did such a good job on these, and I love the fact that you've got, you can see through. Well, it's tough to see here, but of course you can see through to the engine below. Now, you know, your eyes aren't going to pick up on it. You're not going to notice it, but you definitely get that sense of depth of that model. I mean, just these guys were so much fun to put together. The only concern I did have, if I grab my instructions here, was on the back of the Thunderbolts. When we're putting these engines on, I found it pretty fiddly. These little guys, they're kind of the smallest engines of all the kits, and I found that a little fiddly to get on. But it wasn't bad. Look, I mean, you just kind of take your time, make sure you trim every piece. I think these could definitely go awry if you just clipped them and didn't trim them. So yeah, I mean, these are fantastic. I cannot wait to play the games with them, and, you know, just kind of see them, you know, bending and swerving through the sky visually. I couldn't help but notice that the base sizes are the same size as kind of the Planetary Empires. What's the big one as I look up and around? I guess it was Planetary Empires. The Planetary Empires kit. And, you know, maybe we can do something cool with that for a map. So that might be kind of neat. Yeah, really nice. Really, really nice. Even little details at the back, like this, the engine at the back is kind of curved a little bit. It's got a little bit of a, it's not perfectly flat or flush. Very nice look and feel. Before moving on and kind of ending this up here, I just want to show you what I had for leftover bits of sprue. You can see you got the Gatling options here. Where's that other piece? You got the autocannon bits here, right? So if you wanted to add in the kind of these double bombs, you know, there's loads of these that came with the kit, right? But no, you get loads of extra pieces, which is kind of nice to see. So I'm looking forward to playing a game. I think the next painting thing I'm going to do, I might do a stream or just a kind of a quick painting video. I had loads of interest in people liking my Imperial Navy guys here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep it in the same scheme so it matches my my Valkyries and all that. I think it'd be really cool to have that tie in, that connection in between. So yeah, it'll be fun. So having the Imperial Navy doing a couple different theaters of war would be pretty sweet for anything narrative that we're doing. So that's it for this one, guys. It's a fairly quick review, but man, great kits. Huge thumbs up from me, and yeah, big fans. Can't wait to see them on the table. So the next video I do on these guys will be a painting video, and again, I'm going to do them up in my Imperial Navy colors, and yeah, we'll catch you in that one. If you liked the video, clearly hit the like button. It really helps get the video out there, it helps get the channel out there, and that like is really important as all the algorithms are kind of going to crap. If you want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and make sure you ring that bell. That way you get notifications of all of our future videos. And until then, we'll see you in the next video.